or to the cloud. Okay, so, and next on the agenda, we do have Luis and Livia. They will be talking about reincarnation and moral laws. It's going to be really, really interesting topic for all of us to hear from. And after that, there will be two meetings like what we are doing right now. And then Greg Hogan, he accepted our invitation to come back and talk about his own experience. I'm really, really interested to hear from his knowledge and how he built up, you know, everything that he knows. And it's going to be really nice for him to share his experience with us. And evidently, as we have our meetings, I'm posting, if not on the same day, the very next day. So for example, we had a Q&A session with Sonia last week, and I posted on a Sunday, so it's already available just in case you want to, if you didn't have the chance to watch that. Anyway, so this is the agenda, and okay, so we have everybody over here, so we know exactly, we do not have any new new member of this group, so I'm gonna skip that. We all know that. We are here studying Kardec and the Spirit's book, which is available on Kardec video. Let me skip that. I'll just skip this here, just in case we have a new member joining us. So last time we did stop on the question 620, and I will go ahead and share the 620. And Luis, would you please read that, the question and the answer, so we all can do a quick recap on.
All right. Thank you. Before its union with the body, does the spirit understand God's law more clearly than after incarnation? The spirit comprehends it according to the degree of its purification and recalls the intuitive memory of it after being united with the body. However, human beings' bad instincts often cause the spirit to forget it.
Do we want to comment on that? The balance between good and evil within us is our nature. I have a question to the group. Doesn't need to be you, Luis, or somebody else. Is it our nature to be a bad one? And why the instinct or the bad instinct is always prevailing, at least for now?
Giles.
The key phrase there is according to the degree of its purification, in my interpretation of this, because if we are as we are, when we first incarnate as a human, we are very selfish because that is our animal nature. During the course of our incarnations, we learn that love is above all. And towards the end of our incarnations, we have no doubt about that. So the key phrase, according to its degree of purification, when the human is not well developed, there's a great deal of selfishness, which can work out to be evil. And then when the human is well developed, there is no selfishness, or rather, selfishness has been overcome.
Totally agree.
And so that's how I would interpret that that remark there.
That's excellent. Yeah, very good. That does anyone, Luis, want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, I totally agree with Giles because, and it shows how long the way we have ahead, right? In terms of purification, spiritual purification. There's another question. I don't know what number of this book, when Allan Kardec said, "What was the biggest obstacle for us to get rid of this selfishness?" And he says, "Oh, the spirits say personal interest." Right? So it's something.
Yeah.
Something a little bit hard for us to do, but we need to go step by step, right? Beginning today, right? Tomorrow, and but that's the way we do it because selfishness is everything. Is the cause of every problem, right? Cause
Yep.
of every defect, vice, bad habit, and everything that makes us suffer and makes us having to come back here because of the law of cause and effect, you know.
So Una, she raised her hand. Una.
Yeah. So I'm listening at the moment to an audiobook written by Michael Newton about
Mhm.
souls and the journey of souls. And he talks about very young souls and in terms of understanding God and the universe or life between lives. I think the younger the soul, the less the knowledge or the less the understanding of the universal law. So that would come into purification. And he also talks about souls either being in service to self or in service to others. And if a soul is in service to itself while it's in an incarnation, then it's possibly not going to make great choices.
Yes, Una.
Yeah.
I agree with you too because, and we're gonna talk about this next week. What are the side effects? Don't miss it. What are the side effects, right? Old spirits have when they reincarnate, right? Because there are side effects for old spirits. Incarnation is a very good kind of a solution, but of course there are, and the older you are as a spirit, the more collateral effects you will suffer, right? And we're gonna talk a little bit about that too. It's and it reminded me another author. I don't remember the name of the guy who wrote this book, but I read this is in English. It's an American guy. It's called "Ego is Your Enemy." Right? It's a very interesting book. I don't know if you've heard of this book, but it's very interesting. I liked the book very much too.
Yeah, I totally agree with all the comments. I just would like to add one more thing is that's my belief. If we were created by God and God is love, then our nature is love. The problem is when we are created young, like Giles and Woman mentioned, we we have no knowledge, we have no sense. We cannot make any sense of the things that we experience. So, and then we start making bad choices, or because of the instincts. And I do believe we have all this scale of evolution. We as we are animals, and then we behave by instincts only, and our first instinct is to defend ourselves. And sometimes you have to fight, sometimes you have to be really aggressive as animals. But then we get distracted with these ideas, of bad instincts, and trying to defend ourselves from uh, all the perils and the danger in the world. But in summary, I do believe, and maybe I'm too naive, but I do believe our nature is love. Just because we are creatures, and our creator is the essence, the nature of our creator is love. All right, so
Giles, want to speak?
oh, sorry, Giles, I didn't see that. Go ahead.
Please, I have, I can add a little bit to that. I believe, and it strikes me there really is no other way, that all matter is made of consciousness. All matter is made of God. And God is a word that implies some guy with a beard sitting on a throne with large testicles. This is not what I wish to imply. I like the American Indians' description of God, which is the Great Spirit. And the Great Spirit causes the Big Bang, and the little pieces of it are everywhere. And this is what, well, you can't get away from God, from the Great Spirit, because you are the Great Spirit. You can deny everything you want to, and that's the whole point of an incarnation. You have to pretend that it's real. You have to pretend that you're afraid of death. And when you start as incarnating as a human, you are animal. So naturally, you don't have much of a unselfish outlook. It's a good question. Where does karma start? I believe that karma starts towards the end of the animal incarnation, because we all know when our dogs and private animals are being good or not. If your horse stamps on your foot in the stable, it knows damn well what it's doing. You've annoyed it. So it responds, and by doing something which it knows is hurtful. So I believe that towards the end of the animal incarnation, karma starts.
Yeah.
So then now when we come to human, now we have to control this selfishness, and we don't always succeed. So karma builds up because we do things that we regret. Now, towards the end of the human incarnation, is karma eliminated? Because at the end of the human incarnation, we know that God is love, that we are love, and love is the purpose of everything. Well, then I would have to guess what the motivation is for the superhuman, which is the next stage. And I can't, because that is just too much above. There was one description by one of the automatic writers that said the superhumans incarnate in the middle of suns. Now, if you can imagine what karma can be like and what your motivation can be like in the middle of a sun, well, you've got a better imagination than I have. How can a body work in the middle of a sun? Well, it's just like asking how a body can work on the surface of a planet. It's crazy, but it does. And how the spirit stays stuck to it, stuck to this body on the surface of a planet. And every time we dream, it goes away from it, connected by a silver cord, we say. This is just truly remarkable. And thank heavens, we have a memory wipe when we come into our human incarnation, because otherwise we couldn't bear all of the horrible things we've done and the deaths we've suffered and the births we've suffered, and maybe some of the good things we've done. It would all be too much. So that's why we have a memory wipe for our next. Now I'm forgotten what the point was. Anyway, so enough to shut up and let Luis take over.
Yeah, I'd like to cooperate with Giles, because it's exactly this, you know. We're going to talk about this next week. Remember, don't miss it. Right?
Yes.
It's about this
The propaganda
wiping thing of reincarnation, because, and I remember one case, I think we could advance one case. Chico Xavier was in a spiritist center, and one of his helpers came up to him and said, Chico, those two guys, they're always arguing inside of this very sacred place, which is the spiritist center, everybody praying and so on. And these two guys are always arguing. And Chico, very calmly as usual, said, well, because that guy over there, he is Pompilio Crasso in the Roman Empire, right? He invaded Jerusalem with the Roman forces. And the other one is André de Gioras. He was the Israeli resistance, right?
Jewish,
and they've been fighting for about 2,000 years, right?
Yes.
Oh, the guy said, "Oh, all right,
Okay.
that's it."
Now, yeah. As a matter of fact, there's a story you mentioned. It is available in one of the Chico Xavier's books, named, well, in Portuguese is Ave Cristo. I
Hail
don't,
Christ would be.
Hail Christ yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't remember if there is a translation of that book into English.
I
But it's a
think they've
wonderful.
already had this translation, Hail Christ. I
Is
think.
there? Yeah, it's a wonderful book, by the way. All right, so shall we?
But this citation is
Here?
referring to the 2,000 years ago.
Mhm,
Why?
yeah.
Anna,
So,
we have two questions in Spirit's
oh, do we?
book.
Okay.
Maria,
Yes, go ahead.
we have two questions in Spirit's books about progressions of spirits. The 140 and 115. The first one, Kardec asked, are spirits good or bad by nature, or are they the same spirits made better through their own efforts? And the answer is, the same spirits made better through their own efforts. In growing better, they pass from a lower to a higher order. And the other questions, 115, are some spirits create good and others create bad? The answer is, God has created all spirits in a state of simplicity and ignorance. That is to say, without knowledge. He has given to each of them a mission with a view to enlisting them and to make them gradually arrive at perfection through the knowledge of the truth, and thus to bring them near and near to himself. I think that if we understand when we were in beginning, probably we will understand how we are now. And I think that's very important to understand that and many times ago, we are simplicity and ignorance, but we could work to stay here more with more knowledge.
Yeah.
It's very important to us.
Right. So, yeah. So what Maria is saying, Allan Kardec, he really asked all the questions, whatever questions we might have during this study.
Yes.
Believe me, the question is in the book, in this book. And she just read the answers for some of the things that we mentioned over here. And I really like this answer saying that, we were created equally. There's no bad creature that was created bad, or no good creature that was created just good. We were created equally, simple and ignorant. And here we are. If we are human beings today, it's because after God knows how many incarnations, but certainly we learned some lessons, because here we are trying to learn and to transform, or to understand a little bit more.
I'd like to highlight something else that just to support what Giles was firstly speaking. When of course the word God is an old word, but the conception is new. Well, the first question in the Spirit's book is, what is God? And the Spirit's answer is the supreme intelligence, the primary cause of all things. So it's the uncaused cause. If you can think of something that has no beginning and there has no end, this is the conception of God these spirits brought, right? So when you speak God here is in a very philosophical conception, right? Concept. and not, of course, this anthropomorphic idea of one person ruling here and there. Of course, because I think it's very good to clarify this, because many of us, or some of us, can be attached to these old ideas of the word God. Thank you, Giles, again.
All right. Okay, guys, I'm going to move to the 621. All right. So here we are. Where is God's law written? Okay, so I should. Yeah, there is no way. It's so short. I cannot hide the answer. But do we have any doubt? This is something that a comment that I was about to make when we were discussing the 620. And then I just said, okay, so I know it's coming next, so I just wait. But it's so interesting that even though when we are simple, we are ignorant, let's say this is our first incarnation. And but for some reason, there is something in the back of our minds telling us when we do a very, very bad stuff. And we can tell today when we are making bad decisions, because you don't feel as happy as you may feel when you do the right thing. It's completely opposite. I mean, I don't know if it's that obvious to you, but to me, it works that way, when you and here's the thing: good and bad, or good decisions, bad decisions, they evolve as well as we learn more, right? So in the past, it was not a big deal to kill someone. Today, it is a big deal if you bully someone psychologically. So we are evolving.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Can I add that I suspect that karma arises towards the end of the animal incarnation, towards the middle of the animal incarnation, series of incarnations. It's not fair to assign selfish nastiness to a cobra who bites a human child, or a cobra that bites another animal. It doesn't make any sense to assign karma to that animal. Now, it may be the human child's karma, that's different. So I shouldn't have used that example. But a lion bringing down an antelope, there's no question of karma attaching to this activity, because it's too early. It's not right. It's like assigning karma to a vine, a plant that's growing up a tree and strangling it. It's illogical. It doesn't mean that vine doesn't have a consciousness and is not doing what it's supposed to do, which is grow and strangle. And but later, when we get to the late animal stage and the early human stage, then comes the concept of selfishness and potential bad behavior. So I think we're definitely in it as regard humans. And I have great difficulty in believing as evil as apart from selfishness. Selfish behavior is evil. And bit by bit, we grow out of it. And I don't think evil exists apart from selfishness. So where is God's law written? In the conscience. What is conscious? Everything, including nuclear particles. Quantum particles have conscious. You may have noticed that the scientists today are saying, oh, when you observe something, it behaves differently than when it's not observed. Well, what's the problem? It's conscious. Consciousness is everything. Now, it doesn't mean I know what it is, because nobody's got any theory for consciousness. And on top of that, we can only see 5% of the matter, 5% of the matter that's in the universe. So that means 95% of it is dark energy and dark matter. So where is God's law written? In God, in the conscience. The conscience is everything. Consciousness creates and maintains matter for its own purposes. I think that should be a parable put above everybody's front door as a reminder where matter stands. Matter stands as its usefulness to consciousness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as matter descends into entropy, descending, so spirit rises to perfection and ultimate reunion, which is the whole point of the show.
Exactly. Evolution. So, since we carry God's law in our consciousness, why does it need to be revealed to us? I guess Giles gave us.
I can tell
well,
you, but you won't
yes.
believe me.
Yeah.
When the Great Spirit created the universe, the Big Bang happened. And the only thing the Great Spirit can do is surround bits of itself with a cloud of forgetfulness. Let me say that again slowly. It can surround bits of itself with a cloud of forgetfulness. Now, I didn't invent this. This is an Eastern great master that said this, and I read it, and everything went ding dong. I got it. I understand. So clouds of forgetfulness surround the smallest parts of the Great Spirit. These are the quantum particles. And removing the cloud of forgetfulness is the job. And when you remove a bit of the cloud of forgetfulness, oh, you see there's another one out there. And bit by bit, you see more, you experience more, and grouping takes place. Grouping, first of all, to make the elements, then later molecules of, and then suns. And as you know, we're at least the second, our sun is at least second generation. It may be third generation. I don't know if they've sorted that one out yet, but you can't have a planet with humans on it around a first generation sun because the molecules aren't heavy enough. There's no heavy elements. They're only made when a sun explodes, as anybody who's studied any astronomy will know. Now, that's already fantastic enough. I mean, how fantastic can we get before breakfast, in the words of Douglas Adams? If anybody's read Douglas Adams, that's okay. Well, you won't, you will, Una, you will enjoy reading Douglas Adams. You're Irish. And you will like that. Anyway, so as the clouds of forgetfulness are scraped away, the spirit sees other bits of spirit, and then things happen. Entertainment starts happening. Oh, look at that. I didn't know, and so on. And that's the way it goes.
And I'd like to add something too, because it's good to remember that consciousness not necessarily means intelligence or degrees of intelligence, right? And that's why Doug said that even a particle can be conscious, right? And it's right. I think this is true. But and in time, I think we get more intelligent. And what it means that this forgetfulness starts waning down, right? Start lessening as
and
the more
responsibility going up.
Yes, free will and responsibility together causing karma, right? Because there's no karma without responsibility, and no responsibility without free will. And that's why if you are under our determinism, like very, very primitive animals, of course, karma won't exist. Okay, but I'm curious to get to the answer now. What is it?
All right. So, Debbie, would you like to read the answer for us?
Well,
Sure.
Deb,
Yes, I will read it. This must be it. Since we carry God's law in our consciences, why does it need to be revealed to us? You have forgotten and misinterpreted it. God wants it to be recalled to your memories.
Simple as that.
yes.
Forgetfulness, right?
Yeah. Good job.
Could I make a comment too?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Well, I've just been thinking about through most of my life, you know, I always wanted to learn more about the spiritual world and God, and I was so attracted to it. But it seems I had to force myself to forget about it and do all the things to be successful, whatever, in the physical life. And I mean, it was a struggle, and now where I am, I feel like I can go back to what I was always attracted to
Beautiful.
begin with. So that might be a remembering.
Beautiful, yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Recollection.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So 622. What is the question? Oh gosh, I'm terrible trying to hide the answers away. Has God entrusted the mission of revealing divine or natural laws to some individuals? What do we think? Has God entrusted the mission of revealing
I think
divine
so.
or natural laws? I guess that this is, of course, right? So, does anyone? Oh, Leda, you are here. Would you please read for us?
Yeah.
Oh,
Nelda?
you were mute.
Vanished.
Huh?
Okay.
You muted yourself to speak.
I think she's on a
sorry.
cell phone. It's hard. It's very hard for her to read that
Oh,
thing.
you cannot read?
Yeah. No, I think Giles wanted to say something before you asked me.
I did
Oh.
indeed want to say something, because has God entrusted the mission of revealing divine or natural laws to some individuals? Well, yes, to almost any individual who, a human that is, that has had a large number of incarnations. Now, those individuals will know perfectly well that there is no point in talking to somebody who's around for the first few times. And this has been repeated by great masters left, right, and center.
Yeah.
I will speak one message for you lot. You're my close disciples and you understand things. And another message for the crowd that understands nothing.
Yeah.
Except
That's-
bread.
That's very well said.
Exactly.
Except bread and circuses. So, so that's the entrusted the mission of revealing divine or natural laws to some individuals. Well, some will be advanced individuals, and if they're advanced, they will understand that they must pick and choose who they're talking to.
This
Yeah.
could become a seminary, because this is a very, very important thing. And in the future, maybe we're going to talk a little bit about what are the consequences, the outcomes of having us engaged into getting to know the real truth on a planet where the real truth is denied, run away from, right? There are consequences. I interviewed that scientist. His name is Dr. Dean Rading, but I haven't posted on my channel yet. And I was talking to him. It's not an easy task, right? Because when you are a scientist that wants to show the evidence of something that nobody, almost anybody, nobody wants to see, right? There are personal consequences to that. But if he goes on, if he surpasses, it comes over that, he'll be really successful, right?
I can try to read the answer. Can I?
Yes.
So, has God entrusted the mission of revealing divine or natural laws to some individuals? Of course, throughout the course of time, there have been those who have received the mission in every age. They are higher spirits who have been incarnated for the purpose of advancing human progress. It's very clear in the history of humankind that some people are really here to help, right? And sometimes they're misunderstood by people, but they do their best, like Socrates, Jesus Christ, Gandhi, and so many others, right? And just one thing that I would like to add is that when we pray to the higher spirits, we are doing that. We are trying to contact those who know more than we do. So that's the importance of having these prayers every day in your life, to have a moment where you can access this higher consciousness, to learn from them as well, not to be alone with our poor knowledge.
Ignorance.
Yeah.
Very well
it.
said, Lid. I really like what you mentioned, because it's a matter of keeping the attitude. Even though, yes, we are simple, we are ignorant, we may not know much, but keeping that attitude and that discipline of making sure you are in contact with the higher beings, right?
Yes, I'd like to to speak a little bit about this experience and this what Lyd is saying, the importance of praying, people, and being more intuitive, because in the spiritist field we are very we love rationality very much, right? This is something that spiritists speak here and there all the time. Faith, the real faith, is the one that can face science and rationality face to face every moment. Okay, so good, but sometimes things go so far beyond our capacity, rational capacity, that if you're not praying, you will do wrong. And I remember once I was a director in a spiritist center, a director of youth groups, and the president of the center came to me and said, Sergio, you have to get this person out of the work. So it was a woman. She was responsible for some tasks inside the spiritist center, and said, well, I don't usually do this. I usually pray a lot before. I usually to know exactly what to do. But things had come to such a difficult plight that I decided that I was going to remove the person from her task, right? But to do that, I need to set up a meeting with some people, and I set up that meeting, and I called the people. Okay, tonight at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock p.m., we're gonna get together and talk about something very important. But then, during the day, I started praying, and a very strong, quote unquote, no came into me, right inside. I became a no, right? I was an ambulant no, or a moving no everywhere. And I said, okay, I have to cancel. I need to cancel this meeting, because everything rationally, everything logically was going to, I was even backed up by the president of the Spiritist Center. So what's the problem? But then I canceled. I had just canceled the meeting. I hung up the phone and someone called me. When this person called me, this person had a piece of information that in the end, if I had done that meeting, I would have caused a very serious problem to the whole Spiritist Center because there was a piece of information I had never known about. So how important prayer And being kind of intuitive sometimes, or all the time if you like, is right, because it's very important for us to be intuitive, not only rational, right? Otherwise you can make mistakes, right? Lots of mistakes too.
Thank you for sharing, Luis. Very, very important note, you know, making sure our connection is in good shape.
Yes.
All right, so 623, and the question is, have those who allegedly educated humankind sometimes made mistakes and lead them astray by false logic? What do we think? Have those who allegedly educated humankind sometimes made mistakes and lead them astray by false logic? Yes, Giles?
That's an easy one to answer. Because first of all, if that person that we are who is allegedly educating humankind is a so-called master, realized master, illuminated person, whatever you like to call it, they have two messages, one for the ignorant and one for the smart. And so if the ignorant get hold of the smart message, they can mess it up. And the next thing is allegedly educated humankind sometimes make mistakes. Well, are they masters or are they just demagogues who are, I hesitate to pick a current political figure. And
I know you're a big fan of.
I will not pick the current political figure that I have in mind, but if they're allegedly educating humankind, that's a mistake from beginning to end. So who is this, these alleged educators? And of course, humans mess up the message. So the longer it is ago in the past, the more likely it is to get messed up.
Exactly. Agree.
Yeah, but I think that even real masters can make mistakes sometimes, and they come to the earth and they have the same difficulties we have, the same tests, the same forgetfulness, and sometimes they can think something's real, but it's not real, it's not the reality, and they commit mistakes. Some didn't, but we know some of them made mistakes, if not in the beginning of their lives, in the finish of their lives, like
influenced by culture, by
yeah,
society.
like
Right.
Francisco de Assis, I don't know how to say.
Saint Francis of Assisi, for
Yeah,
example.
he
in the first
he
moments
forgot
of his
who he was in the beginning of his life,
made many mistakes,
and his mission, and then he recovered. Some of them
Suddenly-
are still human, not so
Exactly.
divine, and then they become and remember who they are.
It dawned on him, they say. Is it what the expression say? It dawned on him, is it? The expression in English. It dawned on him that,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not that low key. I remember now. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
At the
I'm
end
not
of
a
the-
tax collector. I'm not a tax collector after all.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we're all, they're all human beings exposed to the same level of challenges. And it will depend on the level of commitment and knowledge and moral values, right? I mean, if you
Except
hold
some
on,
of them that are more divine.
Mhm. Yeah.
More
All
evolved.
right. So
Anna, I'd like to remind you that
Go
there
ahead.
are a huge variety of different levels of incarnation, because
Yes.
we pick an incarnation according to the challenges we feel we can face. But when we first arrive at the human level, we don't pick one. We just go blindly taking whatever we can get.
Yeah.
And so that makes
Yeah.
all kinds of a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not planned. And then
Yeah.
later on, we start planning it. And then sometimes we say, okay, I need another incarnation, but now I want to be a professor that does nothing. I'm not getting married. I'm not having children. I'm not going to be a billionaire. I'm just going to get my social security and retire and do nothing my entire life.
I don't know if spirit allows that, Giles.
I know, right. I know people. We all know people like that don't want challenges in their life. And then there's the others that have enormous challenges. And so I've forgotten where I was going already now. No, it means that that any given human incarnation, even if it's quite advanced, will not necessarily have a high level of challenges or a low level. It depends.
Yes. Oh yeah, it depends on free will again.
Yeah.
That's it.
And in the planning, a soul can sometimes decide to take on too much of a challenge. Like you will, I think, or I understand that you will sometimes be counseled that you've taken on too much because you want to try and overcome too much karma. And you might be advised not to do it, but sometimes the soul will go ahead and say, no, I can do it. Then, like
I can handle. Yes.
Yeah. And then part of the way
But
to
in the end,
the incarnation,
but in the end, bam.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm reading a book that's exactly what Una just mentioned. The person is promising everything above and beyond, and I know I'm reading the book for the third time, but I know what's going to be at the end, and the person will fail.
But
right.
the opposite
Yes,
also happens. Do you know this? I remember a book by Chico Xavier, right? There was a woman planned her reincarnation, and she went to the department of a colony there called the Reincarnational Department. And there the planners, I think they were testing her because they had planned that she would have a very beautiful body. And she came and she saw the plans and said, come on, guys. I'm paraphrasing here. I've been for about 100 years in the lower zones because of a beautiful body. Do you want to give me one more beautiful body the same way? And I think the spirit guy was glad by hearing this. Well, all right, so what kind of body would you like to go now? So see how free people are, how they wait for us to make our decisions about something. It's not something, right, that, okay, you cannot have a body like that because you did wrong with a very beautiful body. So no, the guy waited for her to make the choice, to
catch up. Yeah.
It was very beautiful.
Yes, and contrary to popular opinion, having a beautiful body is a serious challenge.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially when you are adolescent.
Yeah, that's it.
Same as money.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, in
money,
fact, the whole lot, right?
Yeah.
So there's a story which I read once about a town in Philadelphia, which is about 2,000 population, and the people of that town continuously reincarnate back in the same town. And this has been going on for quite a while, and it's quite a tourist attraction in the afterlife, because why, how, what's going on here? Well, it's just another proof that one size does not fit all. And for some reason, these people are comfortable doing this. And so they keep doing it. And there it is. And it's been like that for a few centuries. And who knows how much longer it will go on for. Well, anybody's guess is as good as mine. It's just a nice thought about free will and how it can lead us into strange situations.
Yeah.
You can speed up or you can slow down your process.
But you know what? Once I remember I felt offended by an audience, right? I was trying to joke about something because I said, people with spirits say that money in excess, right? Beauty in excess, and intelligence in excess are very challenging assets. So look at me, imagine my hard situation in this life. But people burst into a very serious laughter. You know, they laughed so much that I said, okay, now I am offended by, by the audience. But I hold the grudge because you laughed too much. This was just a light joke for you to know, give me some light smile, right? But people laughed so much that I'm like, goodness. Alrighty then.
Okay.
What surprises me is that you were only faced with an offensive audience once.
Yeah, well, this was an expression only I used.
Okay, so Giles, would you please read the answer for us?
Okay, let me see if I can get it big enough to read. Oops. Have those who allegedly educated humankind sometimes made mistakes and led them astray by false logic? Well, the answer is those who are not inspired by God and misappropriate a mission not intended for them may lead others astray. Despite this, as they are geniuses, great truths are often found, even among the errors they teach.
Oh.
Sounds
Well,
familiar, right?
that sounds familiar. That's a very short answer to, if you were a jolly good, clean, fine, realized, illuminated master, and you talked to the wrong crowd, you told your good stuff to the wrong crowd, it would be madly misinterpreted, written down and promulgated for ages, and you would be held up as an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
While you weren't an idiot, you just said the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
You just said the wrong thing, the right thing to the wrong people.
Yes, the right thing to the wrong people. Yeah, even Jesus said, do not throw
pearls before swine. Yes.
Yeah.
Pearls in
Or
front
swines,
of swine.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's putting it short and pithily. Yes.
All right. Any other comment before we move on? If not, then say the 624 are the characteristics of true Jesus, I'm trying to hide away then. Are the characteristics of true prophets. What are the characteristics of true prophets? What do we think that is?
I think it's hard to say because personally the only prophets that I'm familiar with are the ones that are in, like say, the Bible or something. So that's from like thousands of years ago, or 2,000 years ago. It's possible that there are true prophets amongst us today, but how do you tell them? How do you know what?
Una, you've been living a sheltered life.
I have.
Yes. Satya Sai Baba, who died recently, was doing miracles while he was 10 years of age, and kept on doing miracles. And he died at 86, and he did miracles throughout 86 years. And he spoke nothing of the great true prophet. He's a true prophet, a moral man, and he was a moral man. Sometimes he looked like a woman, though. That was amazing. He could be in two places at once, or three. He delivered a baby in a hospital, and the woman thought he was a nurse, a female nurse. And she remarked on this the next morning. And meanwhile, he was, anyway, if you read about him, there's plenty of information. There's video of him doing miracles. So That's one that I know of.
Chico
Modern.
Xavier was in that situation too. Once here in Belo Horizonte, in my town, he was psychographing, he was writing, surrounded by hundreds of people, and there was a problem in the place, at the gate of the place, and the police was called. And the police arrived, right? And when the police arrived, the people said, "Thank God you've come, right? How did you get to know about this?" "Oh, she was there. She went into the police station and he called me." No, it's impossible. He's surrounded by 100 people. He is writing. How can, no, Chico went into my office and said, "Look, I need some help because there's some disturbance in the place where I'm writing." So something like this usually happen to these people.
As a matter of fact, there is one of the Chico Xavier's friend, Geraldo Lemos. He will talk to us in November, and he will mention stories like the ones that Luis just told us. And Geraldo, he knows a lot of stories about Chico, amazing stories, and all of them involving his skills as a medium. Multimedia is medium because he can do practically anything, right?
Any kind of mediumship, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the answer, Una, can you read the answer for us?
What are the characteristics of true prophets? True prophets are moral men and women inspired by God. We recognize them by both their words and their deeds alike. God would never rely on the mouth of a liar to preach the truth.
I think it's very interesting answer, and I do not know if you saw the lecture from Luis when he was talking about universal teaching of the spirits, and it covers exactly that, right, Luis?
Yes, indeed, right. And well, the point is, we need to know exactly when in the Old Testament, some Christians cite the prohibition about communication with the spirits. The New Testament, you see a progress in that rule, saying that the evangelist John says, "See first if the spirits are from God. Don't believe in all spirits," right? So it means that, okay, communication is all right, but you need to tell. And that's the point, how to recognize a true prophet. And I think one of the highest rules are what Giles said at the beginning, selfishness, right? The absence of selfishness, of self-interest. So it's a very self-giving personality, individual, right? And sometimes you need to be careful about. I don't know exactly about Satya Sai Baba because I think he was a morally high guy. But there are some guys that are not morally high and have a lot of power, mediumistic power, and people can get deluded by this kind of situation. And so, the guy's a medium, the guy's powerful, he can grasp my thoughts, but many times is a dark angel, right?
Exactly.
On this planet happens a lot. So I think this criteria, the Kardecian criteria, all this, the good spiritualist criterion, just to tell who you're talking about or who you're talking to, what kind of person that is, because the more old spirits we have on this planet, the more dangerous things can get into this kind of field, because there are people I've met, they were very powerful mediums, and they could disguise their moral inferiority very well. Yes, and the intention. Well, see, there's a famous medium here in Brazil that he's in prison now, right? And because of very serious problems. And thank God he didn't say he was a spiritist, right? No, I'm not a spiritist. For some, this was an advantage. For some, at the beginning, say no, so he doesn't have any label. It's good, but pay attention. Many very good guys, they label themselves humbly, right?
Yes.
Because it's a pedagogical thing to do for humanity. Okay, I'm on this line here, right? And as he didn't say that, he didn't label himself. I remember I was talking to Liva. I'm worried about that guy, because many times the guy, when you don't label yourself on something, right? Maybe you want to be universal. Okay, let's be universal, but maybe you're just trying to not follow any rule for sure. So
Right. What Una said, it made me think about the challenges that we have and we face today. So, for example, with the internet, all these media, you name it, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. There's so many people talking all kind of nonsense, and when I look at those YouTube channels, for example, I see like thousands of people watching things that, oh God, why don't you pick a book by yourself and study by yourself and try to think by yourself, come up with some conclusions and see if you were watching and listening from this person really makes sense. So Giles, I think you wanted to make a comment.
The internet, it's a double-edged sword, like all libraries.
Yes.
You can go and pick the wrong section to read and you can pump yourself up full of nonsense. And there's another thing too. In a single lifetime, somebody, and indeed Palmerston, the English Prime Minister, said about power, and the Romans said it. They wrote it on with inscribing it in marble. They wrote these statements down. Power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. And what it means is that once you get the taste of power, you have a huge temptation to become selfish.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this is therefore to be avoided at all costs. Now, I can think of somebody who's given themselves an incarnation where they have attained huge power and they have not messed it up. And anybody want a name? I'll give you the name. Steven Spielberg.
Oh,
Now,
good.
as far as I'm aware, he has not messed it up.
Wow.
He has gained enormous riches, enormous fame, and he has guided the hearts of millions with his wonderful movies that usually have happy endings. And Schindler's List, well, that doesn't have a happy ending, but of course, in the end, everybody dies, so they do have a happy ending. So,
as a matter of fact, go ahead.
Yeah, no, finish, please.
As a matter of fact, what the spirit says, what the spirits say, when we watch those movies and Spielberg, shows other worlds, other dimensions, etc. They say that sometimes the folks working on those movies, they are taken away to that dimension, and what they showed us at the end is the product of what their consciousness, what their soul was able to witness, when they were sleeping, and their soul was visiting, their soul were visiting other worlds and dimensions, and
You're absolutely right. Schindler's List, Spielberg said Schindler's List was guided from beginning to end.
Yeah. And the Sixth Sense, what others? There are so many other. Do you remember that the Sixth Sense?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
When Bruce Willis was reaching his peak.
Yeah, very nice.
Oh.
Yes,
All right.
so now let me just briefly say that as far as I can make out, the Great Spirit has designed this entire show for purposes of entertainment. Because if it isn't entertainment, what is it?
There is a question, Giles. There is a question in the Book of Spirit. It's the question number 10. I will not tell you what the question number 10 is. So you go ahead and check it. And the answer is very, very interesting.
Yes, if it
Question
isn't
number
entertainment,
10.
what is it? Because, you know, we are supposed to take all of this very seriously. But then we leave the movie house when we walk out into the afterlife when we die. And then everything is revealed. That is, if we want it to be. If we still want to keep our closed mind, we can do so too. And even into the next incarnation, we can go hooded, so to speak. But if we're a halfway decent human, we are welcomed back by our friends and guides, and a lot of laughing happens. and on we go. Entertainment.
Uh-huh.
Read what the screen is saying. Question number 10.
Human beings lack the sense to comprehend the essential nature of God. Well, okay, but then the essential nature of the Great Spirit is consciousness. And as we know from the recent scientists, they finally admitted that it was a problem in 1998, and they called it the hard problem.
Nobody
And
knows what consciousness is, right?
And no advances have been made at any level by anybody as to say what is consciousness. Not even an Irishman with whiskey. Sorry, I had to throw that in, Una. I was brought up in Ireland, so.
Now, at least now we are conscious of that, right? This is good. We don't know what consciousness is. We are very conscious. We're aware.
Yes.
By the way, I'm now playing Josie's role, right? It's 6:18, right?
Yes, yeah. We it's time for us to closure. So, guys, I really thank you so much for the meeting. It has been a wonderful meeting today. Very good comments and thoughts. Good thing for us to keep in mind. And I wish you a very good weekend, wonderful week ahead of us, and be with God.
Let's send good thoughts and prayers, right, to everybody here,
please.
right? And no, not now. I'm just during the week, I'm saying, right? Because sometimes I remember you, I remember Debbie, I remember Art, Giles, Una, and Maria, Vladimir. Just sending good thoughts because this is a nice group. I think you're nice guys, and it's very nice being here with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. See you.
Thank you. Then. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
You too.